Hey there, David Gordon from TheaterMania here. It is Tuesday, August 18th. I'm here with Broadway producer Brian Moreland. You can see some of his illustrious credits behind him, Lifespan of Effect, Seawall of Life, and Brian, you were working on the play Blue when theater shut down by Charles Randolph Wright.
Yes. Yes,
Uh,
yes, yes.
and that was going to be at the Apollo Theater, which is cool because I feel like I don't think I've ever seen a theater show at the Apollo Theater, which is my bad, of course. But
Oh my gosh.
I feel like a traditional play like this doesn't always often get produced at a place like the Apollo.
True, true. The Apollo is an interesting venue because people connect the history of the Apollo with all the musical icons that have played that stage.
Right.
For their legendary amateur night at the Apollo. Like, it's a major cultural institution.
Yeah.
For new works, emerging works, established works, concerts, community gatherings, movie screenings. Like, it is a plethora and wealth of entertainment up there. But it's really gorgeous. The theater itself is stunning. It sits right in the heart of Harlem.
Yeah.
It's a short ride. Many people live in the neighborhood, so you must come.
Yeah. Had you guys gotten to the point where like the set was loaded in and everything and then you had to shut down, or were you still like in the rehearsal process?
So we were very lucky for the sake that we were just about to begin rehearsals actually. When this all happened. So we hadn't actually taken occupancy of the theater itself. So our set is still sitting in the shop. It's sitting in Canada right now, right before the borders closed. Our costumes are still sitting with the shop. So we were in good shape that particular way as it relates to the pandemic. But I'm absolutely disappointed with the shutdown right now. Absolutely disappointed with the fact that our world has just been turned completely upside down in this time frame.
Yeah.
Also hopeful because shows like Blue will mean more on the other side. We're re-examining the way we see families, what it means to be a family, what it means to look in on different families that don't look like yours or may not look like your neighbors.
Right.
So I'm excited about that, and to have some laughs, and to see Leslie Uggams back on stage, and to see Lynn Whitfield just season of Greenleaf, who was amazing. If you guys have not seen Greenleaf, please tune in. It's on OWN. Those final episodes were also directed by Charles Randolph Wright. It's amazing. And then, of course, Lou's also being directed by current Emmy-nominated actress and Tony Award-winning actress, Phylicia Rashad.
The legendary, who I feel like most people don't know as a director, but she's a terrific director.
Oh my gosh, she's been to the Long Wharf. She's been to Mark Taper Forum. She's been to the Guthrie. She's been here in New York City down at
Signature.
Yeah. She's been everywhere directing, and this is a facet of her that many people do not know that exists. But it's also just in a natural evolution. Phylicia is one of these really great thinkers that believes that every actor should be a director, every director should be a producer, every dancer should be a choreographer. So you're in this full cycle of life, and all aspects of the business, and you're constantly growing and achieving and giving. And her directorial abilities they're amazing. I mean, people know her as America's Mom.
Right.
And when you're in her presence, it's gorgeous because that same warmth that people feel from her iconic characters, it radiates from within her as a director. And so she brings all of herself to the room, and all of the collaborators in the room feel that same warmth.
How did you get into producing? Like, tell me about, because we've never spoken before, tell me about yourself and your background in the entertainment industry.
I started as a performer. I went to a boarding arts school, then came east for college, graduated from college, then came to New York like you're supposed to. I lasted less than a year in New York City. I didn't have an equity card. I waited around for 2 auditions all day, and then they came out and they ripped down the list and said, "So sorry, we're not seeing non-union people today." And I said, okay. I did that twice. And then I called my mother and I said, "I have to come home."
Yeah.
And it was
like, thanks, but no thanks.
Yeah, well, yes. It was thanks, but no thanks. But it was It was really about the fact that I had no problem auditioning. I just wanted to be able to be seen.
Right.
You know, and that's the part that was not really discussed prior to coming. So I went back to California and went back to school, and I had a teacher in that next school that said, you should really dance, because if you dance, you will get your equity card very quickly. And she was right, and I did. I ended up getting my equity card within the next 2 years.
Oh wow! I didn't realize that that one transition could change everything.
Correct. The numbers. It was the numbers game. At that time, I mean, my gray hairs are showing right now, but at that time, there wasn't a Newsies around, right? Newsies was not happening, and that type of male energy was needed. Males were in high demand. They're still in high demand, but
yeah,
but more so. Mm-hmm.
How did you transition into producing?
I had a job. I took a job. And this particular job led me to another job, which led me to another job. And then I had a friend say, same thing. He said, I think you should learn this other side. And so I did. And I ended up being a line producer in-house for a gentleman named Otis Salid. And we worked on a couple of different shows together. And then I was off to the races.
What was your Broadway debut?
My named Broadway debut was The Lifespan of a Fact.
How'd that feel on opening night?
Joy. Immense joy. Immense joy. And extraordinary joy and nerves. And I remember being very fidgety in the seat because I had seen the show already. So I just wanted to know how other people were going to experience the show. And then everyone was on their feet. And then I remember the party. And then I remember biting my nails, waiting for the reviews. Everyone else think about this.
Yeah.
So,
and people really seemed to like it. I mean, it was a delight to watch. I remember just sitting there.
Yeah.
Like three actors at the top of their game. I mean, everything that you've done is just actors at the top of their game.
Oh, thank you. I got very lucky. Jeffrey Richards was the lead of that particular show, and Jeffrey was so kind to open his doors to me, to allow me to really, really just get in there and work under him. It was lovely.
Is Blue the first show is Blue your first lead show?
Blue would be my first show as the lead, sitting in the seat, so to speak, sitting in the driver's seat.
How does that feel? What is that like in retrospect to when you were working with Jeffrey as an associate?
How is that? It's a lot more work, a lot more phone calls.
There are a lot more people who you have to answer.
A lot more people you have to answer. It's a lot more people to collaborate with. But I will say, everyone always says, I think when you speak to directors, they always say, part of their job is to just cast the show really well and the show will take care of itself. I really think that when you pick collaborators who are people that are at the top of their own personal game, and I don't mean the game of where they might fall in the business, mm-hmm. but where they fall in their life's journey of whatever it is that they're doing.
Right.
And if they're at the top of that and centered in that and kind, and you put a whole group of people like that together, sitting around the table where everyone's at the top of their personal life's journey game, and everyone is collaborating in that particular form, it's beautiful.
I wish the whole world would operate on that wavelength.
Well, I always say you should be able to marry every single person you work with. And I mean that metaphorically.
Yeah.
Laugh with them, cry with them, argue with them. And then at the end of the night, you say, I don't like you right now. I still love you, but just right now in this moment, I don't like you. But you lay down, you wake up in the morning, and all is fine.
Yeah.
You can have that healthy balance in your work life when you're sitting around collaborating, because that's what we do in theater. It's the most collaborative art form that there is. None of us exist alone.
Right.
So it's good.
What were the challenges that you encountered getting Blue off the ground?
Excellent question. The first challenge for Blue was really finishing the deal. Our deal took us a very long time just because people are busy. So I think it took us maybe 6 months, which my general manager says was very quick. Like that was quick, Brian. And no problem. Everyone agreed on everything. It was just waiting for paperwork to exchange hands.
It's like buying an apartment. Everything is hurry up and wait.
Yes. It's like buying an apartment, right? You've done your part. You've turned in everything you need to turn in, and now you're just waiting.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we went on our theater hunt, and our theater hunt was a very interesting journey. And I just say interesting because everyone knows there's 41 theaters on Broadway. Everyone knows that at one point in time, there's usually 3 to 5 shows sitting in the wings, so to speak.
Yeah.
Or that next house. And so it's a process of figuring out what show works for that particular theater owner for that particular time. What show, how long do you need your show to run? How long could your show run? So there's a lot of factors that go into it other than just, you have a fantastic cast,
Yeah.
People producing above the title of the show with you, like John Legend, and people designing the show like David Rockwell and Tony Leslie James and Cookie Jordan. I mean, these are, I think people often use the word legend loosely, but I'm going to say that they're legends.
They're huge names in the industry. And John is in another realm on his own.
Correct. And so, so we didn't secure a house. And so instead of going out of town, we decided to go up to the Apollo.
I'm trying to figure out a way to say, like, do you think the theater, like, what don't you think, well, what was the reason that you think that you weren't able to secure a Broadway house? Like, do you know, did they tell you? Or is it this thanks but no?
No, it wasn't, no, not at all. Like, I would love it if someone would just say, oh, it's, we've just spoken to producer A, John Doe over here, and John Doe we're really far down the road with John Doe, and so we just don't think it's going to happen for your show because we're going to use John Doe's show.
Right.
It doesn't quite work out like that. It's usually you're considered until you're not considered.
Right.
And usually if it's a hard no, it's a hard no.
So it's like it will never.
Very kind.
Right.
Yeah, it's a very kind system, but it's akin to auditioning in the sense that you go to the callback and then you have another callback and you have another callback and another callback and let's do a work session, and then you get more material and then you wait.
Right.
And you either get a call that says, hey, you're on the veil for that particular job, or you didn't get the job. Okay, well, is there any feedback? No. They went in a different direction.
Yeah.
It's not dissimilar from that.
But the Apollo, the history of the Apollo, as you said, I feel like is a perfect candidate for this play.
Oh, well, they think so as well. And we're, again, very lucky. I mean, the Apollo is currently being led by Camilla Forbes. And Camilla Forbes is an excellent, you love her. Everyone loves Camilla. She comes from a hip hop background, a Howard grad. Also, she's been an associate director on every major African-American project you can think of that's hit Broadway. And now she's executive director of the Apollo, also a director in her own right. She was just announced for HBO's Between the World and Me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's she's doing great things, great things.
What are the challenges that, beyond the theater situation, like what are the challenges that African-American producers face in the theater industry today?
I think it's usually access, but that access, I don't believe that the access is restricted to people of color. So many things in this particular industry, as you know, David, happen not in secret, but not in the open either.
Right. It's all room where it happens stuff.
It really is. I kind of describe our business much like a watchmaker. Like, you want a fine handcrafted watch, and usually you will find that the person who created that watch was trained by this person, who was trained by this person, who learned it from that person.
Right.
I think that our business works really well in that regard of learning from one person to another person to another person. And I think that that's our biggest barrier, is that we're not an exposed industry where you can have a direct path to leadership, or a direct path to producing, or a direct path to being a general manager. Most producers, it's their second, third, or fourth career. General managers, many of them started out as company managers who used to be, some of them are former performers. Like the journey in is so different.
Yeah.
Person, and I think that that's the most challenging thing for our entire business, is that there isn't one path that will actually get you to your destination.
Right. And in that respect, you actually just added another thing to your resume. You joined the board of governors of the Broadway League, which is,
yes.
How did that come about for you, and what are your goals?
Good question. The Broadway League, for a long time, what many people probably don't know about the league is that it's the league probably does 75% of their work behind the scenes.
Right.
There's a huge spotlight on the Broadway League right now because we're shut down, and everyone's looking to the league for guidance and what is going to happen and what are you going to do and how are you going to make us feel better. And that's a hard job.
Yeah.
Job, how do you make our entire industry feel better?
Right.
Time you give them as much information as possible. You give them clear information when you have it, and that's what Charlotte St. Martin keeps doing for us. But that other 75% that usually happens behind the scenes is always working towards audience development. It's working towards our international branding. It's working on our laws within our country that will help benefit the art of theater, commercially speaking, and it's working on equity, diversity, and inclusion. So when this opportunity came up, I said yes immediately. Immediately, I said yes. The board of governors of the Broadway League is comprised not only of theater owners, but of producers, of also road presenters, general management offices, and so it's a whole conglomerate of our industry, and all these minds come together to figure out ways to make our industry better.
And what are you hoping to achieve? Like, what are your goals for?
Personally, more transparency.
Yeah. Transparency is always nice.
But it's transparency in a very particular way. So right now, a lot of us are speaking about what are the ways that we can actually be more inclusive across the entire board of the industry. How do we do that? And so before we can actually tackle that particular problem, we have to figure out what actually exists currently. Is it actually working? And if it's working, great. If it's not working, then let's get rid of it. And so for me, I asked immediately, could I work on the EDI committee? Could I serve on that? And they said, yes. What other committee do you want to serve on? And I gave them another list of those. So for me on the EDI committee, my personal goal is to make sure that we uncover the programs that are working and highlight them and advertise them. It's a personal goal of mine because we do have programs that exist for high school students, programs that exist for people of color, to make sure that they actually get into the room and get next to people. But I don't think that everyone knows that they actually exist. And so personally, my goal is transparency and access to the league. That's my personal goal.
Well, Brian, you always have a platform here.
Oh, thank you.
We're more than happy whenever you're ready. Or whenever.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. I will use that. I have to be honest. I will use that.
Yeah.
I believe in allyship, and I believe that we all are all working together. And if we don't work together, like by doing this, you're offering information to people.
Yeah.
And we need information and we need access. Something else is happening really interesting. I know we're almost at time, but something else that's happening that's really interesting is that the SDC Foundation has just recently put together a grant in the name of Lloyd Richards.
Oh, really?
And this particular grant, they will pair an up-and-coming artistic director who is a person, a BIPOC artistic director. They will pair them with another theater of an existing artistic director and give them a $40,000 grant so that they can spend a year with that artistic director. This is really important because we all speak about pipelines and systemic change. right now in the next 3 to 5 years across our country, artistic directors will be retiring, and there isn't new leadership sitting in the pipeline.
No.
And artistic directors, like being a producer or a general manager, or there isn't a clear path to how you actually become one. So when SDC formed this grant is amazing. Go to sdcfoundation.org, apply for this grant, find a theater and an artistic director across the country that you want to work with, and get into this program. I think it's amazing.
You heard it here. Do it, everybody. Brian, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
I'm curious that you always have a platform.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
And I hope that, well, I mean, I hope theaters reopen in general, but I hope that Blue comes right with it.
I do too.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, David, for the time, and thank you all.
Thank you for your time and talking to us, and talking to me. And thanks everybody for watching.
Yep.
Bye.
Okay.